People might simply genuinely be too busy. How do I show that I'm motivated to this based on this question? Reach out to 100 people on LinkedIn, and they might hear back from 2 or 3.
Current economic situation, and we are in, we are seeing lots of candidates in the job market than ever before. Something that personally I realized that usually or oftentimes employers are looking for apples. This is how I put it. And candidates or recent graduates, they offer banana. Completely misalignment between expectation. So how would you navigate this situation as a recruiter? And what is your suggestion to especially recent graduate to better align their skill set to what employers need?
There's multiple questions in there. As an employer, you need to really define what you need and be patient and look for it and have many conversations, because again, you can't necessarily evaluate simply based on a resume. Sometimes you have to have multiple conversations, right? So being open to that is important. But at the end of the day, if you can't find what you need, sometimes just reposting, waiting, networking. Sometimes you might utilize a recruitment agency in some cases, right? But if you can't find it after a few months, maybe you need to reevaluate what you're actually looking for and why, because some skill sets are evolving and they don't exist. You can't have someone with 10 years of AI experience when AI has only really been in its current form, really with ChatGPT, what, 2.5, 3 years-ish, right? So it really depends on what you need. And for new grads in particular, it comes down to breaking out of that. It's terrifying to reach out. And it does seem transactional, the networking and being on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is simply a tool. And also recognizing the fact that a new grad, or anyone for that matter, can reach out to 100 people on LinkedIn, and they might hear back from 2 or 3. It's just kind of the nature of it, because people might not even be on LinkedIn. People might be on vacation. People might have an old profile and they never haven't logged in for like months. You don't know. People might simply genuinely be too busy. People might simply lose track and shoot, I forgot to respond. You don't know what's going on. But the key thing is to recognize the emotional toll, because it's not a rejection necessarily. In fact, it shouldn't be viewed as a rejection at all. It is just the nature of, if you reach out to 100 people, you're not going to hear back from a bunch of them. And recognizing that that's okay. It's not a reflection of you, the new grad who's reaching out. It's just is what it is. So in a job search, particularly as a new grad, and when you have lots of candidates who are bananas versus apples, sometimes it's all about, again, your network. Again, biochemist, talent acquisition, networking was what really at the crux of it is people, again, someone took a chance on me, trusted me. There you go, right? Someone saw that potential in me. So
Actually, that was kind of like my experience as well. I did not have any hydrology or water resources background. I was environmental. I had a network, and I got the interview. And my first manager, he told me that we don't have any environmental position to offer you. But I was sitting at the interview, and I showed them, hey, this is who I am, and I know my capability. I really don't care. I'm here for a challenge.
Yeah. I'm a firm believer you can teach anyone anything if they want to. Now, flip side, you'll never teach me to be an electrician. Okay? You probably could.
Yeah.
But it would take a long time, and I don't have necessarily the correct, just not quite how my brain's wired. My brain's more wired to the theoretical and kind of white collar pushing digital paper kind of stuff. You probably could, but that doesn't mean there's probably better people who you trained as an electrician before me, right? And that's okay. Recognizing that that's okay. We all have our strengths and weaknesses is also important. It's okay not to get a job if you've interviewed for one. It's okay to not get a call if you've applied to a job. It is just what it is. It's not a reflection of you.
Time to get into the next question, networking, which is everything. And I love this, but I realize that sometimes it's tricky to get it right, especially if you really want to find that first job. And as I mentioned earlier, sometimes it feels overly transactional. So how would you recommend, especially for recent graduated students, to approach and make that genuine connection with someone?
the exact way that I articulated. Social media, LinkedIn in particular, it's simply a tool. And career fairs are a great way, but career fairs are incredibly transactional. You go to the U of C, and it's incredibly busy. You don't get necessarily the chance. You don't get those 5 seconds because the people there are talking to hundreds of people that day potentially. So the likelihood of someone remembering a face or a name is slim to none, unfortunately. And that's simply because of the sheer volume. So you want to reduce the volume a little bit, and the way to do that, the tool is LinkedIn. But again, you're going to hit a couple people out of 100 that you connect with, right? But it's about the consistency, right? And again, that people being fearless and saying, "Hey, I'm a new grad looking," people will refer people. The most valuable networks are other students or even family members or people you've played sports with. In my case, right? The network is diverse because you never know. Just putting it out there, right? Because you never know who. Hey, wait a second! I know someone who's hiring for this position. You never know where a career transition might come up. You never know what opportunities. But really defining yourself by I am a chemical engineer or I'm a mechanical engineer. Great, and there will be a certain perception of that resume. But you want to get away from the perception of the resume, and you want people to actually see the person, right?
Let's get into the remote work. Controversial part these days.
Controversial?
Yeah, because I realize that some companies, they're not really okay with the whole remote work, and some people want that flexibility and that freedom, which is really good to have. But personally, I realize that especially for a remote work environment, you need to have a great communication skills. So how would you kind of spot a right candidate for those hybrid work, or in general a team can do to thrive in a remote work regarding like that communication skills?
For efficiency, most of my preliminary conversations with candidates are by Microsoft Teams, right? That alone gives you a good feel right away. Now, the risk, of course, and I've encountered this, is people can be typing into ChatGPT and looking at their other monitor for an answer, right? I have encountered that on several occasions, okay? But that's why, again, an unstructured, kind of more conversational interview, who can type in a conversational question into ChatGPT and give me an answer and make it look organic, right?
It's for like an interview? I thought that you were talking about for technical.
Yes, but both. So the technical questions are asked, but also that's why the conversational side, right? So everything's over Microsoft Teams, right? So the communication style, you'll get a very good feel very quickly for communication style, right? Because all my conversations, preliminary ones anyways, are over Microsoft Teams. You can tell. If an IT person can't get their webcam working and they're pausing after every question I'm asking, what's going on, right?
Yeah.
But again, just a conversational style. Can the person hold a conversation? Right? How nervous are they? But again, here's also the problem. Is interviews are so stressful for many people. They're terrifying for new grads that many new grads, not all, some are very confident and interview extremely well. But you have to make them comfortable. You have to get to know what their skills are. But you have to, I like to crack a joke or two and just be engaging, be human, right? It's so easy for someone to sit behind a piece of paper and ask a question. So please tell me about a time when. You can do that.
Yeah.
But try to make it light, a little more conversational. A good interview will, have questions anyways that won't necessarily be easy to address AI augmented, and they can only be addressed in a genuine way, right?
Yeah.
Like, how can you type in ChatGPT, how do I show that I'm motivated to this based on this question? Good luck doing that very quickly and organically. Yeah.
Salary negotiation.
Aye.
In some workplaces, I noticed if you're gonna talk about salary or money in general, it's like pass across line, So how a person like me can negotiate about the salary without feeling awkward or jeopardizing any opportunities?
I think the onus actually is on the talent acquisition professionals end, actually, to initiate that conversation, because the candidate, again, is going to be nervous. They don't want to undersell themselves. They don't want to oversell themselves and talk themselves out of a job, right? So the way I actually approach this is by making it a discussion again. And I usually ask okay, we discussed the question. I call them my housekeeping questions. Let's discuss salary expectations. You never ask what they're making. You never do that. Just if we were to offer you the position, what would your salary expectations for this position be? Mm-hmm. In some cases, in my current role, we have collective agreements. A lot of them are there's set salary bands that people can look up. But for non-unionized positions, I just opened it up that way. And then, because as well, compensation packages are apples and oranges and bananas as well, right? So for example, is there a bonus? Mm-hmm. Is there a pension? Is there an RRSP matching? What does the vacation package look like? Is there hybrid work available, remote work, or is it full-time in the office? Mm-hmm. Is there relocation? Like all the things there's different levers. What does the benefits package look like? Are they flexible? Are they tiered, right? So it really does depend. So usually my approach is I ask what salary expectations would be, and then I actually walk people through what a typical package entails, because most of the time it's very structured. And I'll say flat out, it's like, look, the base salary, your base salary, I don't know what the salary bands are. Your base salary might be a little bit high, but it would be offset by the fact that we have this excellent benefit program, this excellent pension, and this excellent annual bonus. Usually the maybe the base salary is a little bit lower than what I wanted, or maybe they're ecstatic, when the offer comes in. Who knows, right? But I think the onus as a talent acquisition professional, if you're going to make an offer too, right, you want to make sure that if that is the right person and you're convinced by that person, lowballing someone doesn't go well. And I'll leave that there. What are the gives and takes? If the commute's 20 minutes versus a 5-minute walk, you're going to save a lot of money on transit or on fuel and insurance and parking. So really evaluate. Ask what the whole package looks like. It's not just about the salary.
Yeah.
Right? What about culture? What is your mental health work in an amazing work environment? Is that worth 10 grand less? I'd rather work in a psychologically safe environment where I can be me and I can deliver on some really cool projects versus just being a cog in a wheel and asking to grind out 10-hour days. Yeah. I actually said this recently to a candidate. I said, look, I'll be honest here. I can't meet your salary expectations for this role. I can't. And I would love to be able to. A great skill set, amazing individual, would have been delighted. But you know what happened out of that? The person's like, you know what, I really appreciate that how honest you are. Because I told them, I'm not going to be that talent acquisition person who, oh yeah, you're great, and we're going to go through references and all this stuff, and then I'm going to offer you this low amount of money, and you're going to look at me and go, I can't afford that. And I refuse to do that. It doesn't look good on me as a representative of my organization. It's a horrible experience for a candidate because you went through all this, you got your hopes up, and then you're getting lowballed by 20 grand. That's not fair to you. Right? So again, the onus is on me. And what happened out of that conversation is, you know what, Jeff, thanks for being so honest. That's kind of rare. I've not encountered that. And yeah, I can't accept, that lower range, and so I will keep looking. But I know someone who maybe you should connect with this person who I'd highly recommend and who might be in a situation where this salary band will work for them, depending on their personal situation. Guess what happened? We hired that other individual who was a referral from the person that we couldn't afford. So again, that genuine, open, honest, transparent discussion can lead to good things too. Not transactional. Will yield better results every single time, and you're not going to get that through technology. You're going to get that through genuine, meaningful interaction. Doing that in people's lives where we're all running around all crazy busy with personal lives and professional lives and families and hobbies and activities and all that, it's hard to do. But I think it's going to, the pendulum, so to speak, is shifting toward technology, but there's also going to be a counteraction back toward more genuine interactions. A handshake is going to be more important because let's say you send a candidate an assessment, now they can just use ChatGPT to fill out the assessment and give it back and get 100%. So now you're going to have to bring that person in anyways and give them a computer without ChatGPT Office to test their skills. You're going to have to bring them in anyways.
Yeah.
So just skip the middleman and just have a genuine conversation. Bring people in and network.
We've all had those moments that things didn't go as we planned. Could you share us a story about a hiring decision that didn't work out? Hiring decisions that didn't work out. There's some confidentiality things. Yes.
Obviously, so I won't give you. I won't give a specific example. Okay, but it really you don't bat 100, right, so to speak. And I'm not a baseball player, but you don't get 100% of situations where it's a good fit. Sometimes you do miss things, right? Cultural fit. I mean, what is fit? It's this nebulous concept. But if you don't, again, that's why the importance of a genuine conversation is you can hire someone who's technically amazing, but they're horrible to work with.
Mm-hmm.
Would you rather work with someone who's horrible to work with but a technical wizard versus someone who's technically sound and who's amazing to work with? So you have to really, again, build that connection, build that relationship. So yeah, it has happened where you hire technical experts and they're not good fits, and no one ends up well. So do your due diligence up front.
I actually went to University of Lethbridge to career fair by myself. It was a fun experience.
Mm-hmm.
I met
UofL's
so many.
Nice. Well, that's where I went for 3 degrees, right? So yeah.
Oh yes, you were at U of Lethbridge.
Yeah.
But I've met so many business students.
Mm-hmm.
What would you suggest to those, especially like want to get into recruitment or human resources? And another question, or in general, whoever wants to change their industry and get into recruitment from different backgrounds, like yourself.
Network. I mean, it's the exact same, right? Very few people wake up and want to be in recruitment. I'm convinced. Okay, so also just being open and networking and being open to soliciting feedback from people about, hey, what do you think my skills are? Where could I go? Listening and people will ask me for career advice and job searching advice. I will give only my perspective, which worked for me and based on my experience. So take that and then ask other people's advice, and then take the good that works from my advice and the good that works from their advice and merge it into your own, right? Your journey is your own, my journey is my own. For new grads, don't be afraid to take a chance, right? The hardest thing is we are so terrified of failure. Me too. I'm terrified of failure. The hardest thing is just doing it. Mm-hmm. Make it imperfect. An imperfect start is better than no start at all. And yeah, you're going to have some lumps along the way, but again, that's why in a job search, keeping track of your mental health, keeping a healthy track and a healthy assessment of yourself. Surround yourself by people who you trust and who will build you up, right? Because it's a terrifying thing to do, is to put yourself out there without fear.
Yeah, I used to take a photo of myself for every career fair that I joined.
Yeah.
And I wrote a piece of like a paragraph for myself. Okay, today I felt this way when I joined and talked to those specific people that I wanted to talk.
Neat. I write in a journal periodically. I have a little notebook that I just journal thoughts and stuff like that, because it's about the journey too, right? And it might take a week, it might take a month, it might take 6 months, it might take 12 months. It's terrifying out there, but also there's lots of good people willing to network and willing to help and give that hand out, not hand out, but hand up, right? And engage and chat. And it doesn't always work. I'll be perfectly honest, I was nervous to come here and have this discussion today. I'm like, is what I say, is it valuable at all, right? You took the chance reaching out to me in the first place, so here I am. You never know.
Sometimes I felt that people try to hide that vulnerability side. Yeah. They just want to show all the success, and for me, I'm always, well, I appreciate it, I like that, but it's not real, That's the most important part, at least for me, to hear.
The people that I work with, we spend a lot of time, and in particular, the little talent acquisition team that I'm part of, we spend a lot of time talking about a psychologically safe interview. How can you ascertain who's the best candidate unless they are willing to open up and actually express a little bit of themselves, their skill set, a little bit of their experience, a little bit of those awesome projects that they've worked. How can you, if they're nervous, how can you create an environment where they can showcase the very best of themselves? And if they're not showcasing the very best of themselves, how can you identify the best candidate? So we spend a lot of time talking about a psychologically safe interview. A psychologically safe person will produce so much higher quality work than someone who's looking over their shoulder. Am I going to get terminated if I make a mistake? And so many people are so scared of making a mistake that inhibits their ability to innovate. I'm shocked by how many people are, oh, Jeff, I made a mistake. Okay, let's fix it. So, what do you mean? I completely goofed up. Okay, let's fix it. Right? But that's how you create innovation. That's how you create a cohesive team that is willing to execute and can deliver way higher performance, and that can then deliver that experience to the rest of the organization. Mm-hmm. You have to be genuine and a little bit vulnerable. Ted Lasso, favorite TV series in the world.
Never watched.
Rewatching it is that good. Okay, I mean, I'm a soccer nut. I love soccer. Okay, and so it's a comedy. Obviously, it's hardly kid appropriate given the number of curse words and what have you. But it touches on so many important topics from a leadership standpoint, from a psychological safety, from women in leadership, from talent. Like it's a brilliant series. I can't stop watching it.
We talked about a very important part. If you don't afraid of making mistake, I realize some cultures, they set up based on punishment. That is why when people try to start with a new company, they feel uncomfortable. Oh, I just want to show my best. What if I make this mistake?
Perfectly natural.
They're going to do this. They're going to be mad at me. And it, like, the mental pressure behind the whole, like, internal conversation is insane.
Maybe linking it back to my original career as a scientist, too.
Yeah.
You learn more from a failed experiment sometimes than from a successful one. And how else do you invent something great? How else do you come up with answers if you're not willing to try? And sometimes this won't work, this won't work. You have to go through so many iterations before you find something that works. It is also the same with organizations. You might be in an organization where it is not a good fit, and holy smokes, it is not great. You'll learn from that. And you'll be, oh my God, I need to move on. I'm getting out of it. People might be terminated because it's the wrong fit. Yeah. Right? But you'll learn from that. And picking yourself up from that is terrifying too. But that's why it's a two-way interview too, many times, is the candidate should interview the company as well. Right? And that the only way to do that is in a discussion forum.
Yes.
Because also as a talent acquisition professional, if I'm interviewing you and all of a sudden I put you in a situation where, and then 3 weeks later you're like, Jeff, why did I take this job? Oh God, and you're scared. I didn't do my job. I didn't create a good fit for you as an individual. The organization isn't going to succeed. You're not going to succeed. It's that match. A talent acquisition professional is really, the whole role is find that mesh and see if there is that connection, skill set wise, personality wise, future direction wise, long-term potential wise, growth potential wise. Like the job is trying to figure that out. Yeah. Right.
If you want to network or connect with Jeffrey, reach out to his LinkedIn.
Yeah, and if I don't respond right away, I'm not, because I might not be on LinkedIn that day. If I respond so I can't meet up for coffee, it's not because I don't want to. It's because I genuinely can't, because I'm up to my eyeballs in work or personal life or what I try to respond. Sometimes I even miss responding. You messaged me, I think, on Wednesday confirming this. I'm like, oh shoot, and it's Friday. Yes, I'll be there, right?
This has been packed with amazing insights. Thank you very much for sharing your experience.
Thank you for wanting to listen to me.
Of course, I really appreciate it. And to everyone watching, I hope you find it as valuable as I did. If you enjoyed, please let us know and feel free to reach out to Jeffrey on LinkedIn. He would be more than happy to help you guys. And thanks for watching this video again. It was my pleasure.